Does that mean we do need different mitigation strategies for different kinds of risks?
Indeed, these types of risk could be mitigated by specific strategies. For example, in periods in which it's difficult to have access to raw materials, or when prices are extremely high, it is useful to have stockpiles at hand. And these can cover supply issues for a certain time, for example, a few weeks. Stable trade relationships with suppliers could also help to avoid that trade routes are disrupted. Supplier diversification is also very important here, so that if one supplier has difficulties to deliver a raw material, there are alternative suppliers that could fill this gap. A company could protect themselves against strongly fluctuating prices via other strategies. There are certain financial instruments that could be used, such as establishing long-term price agreements via forward contracting or hedging. And in certain sectors, the increased costs could be passed to the company's clients, but this is not always possible, for example, when the market is highly competitive. Stockpiling or supplier diversification are not necessarily effective to protect the company against reputational risks. Here, it could be helpful to engage in certification programs that aim to improve social circumstances of miners or that aim to decrease environmental damage. Environmental monitoring, such as via life cycle assessments, could be also helpful here. Using substitutes is a very interesting strategy that could mitigate supply risks for a company on all three types of risks, but this can be very challenging. Substitutes might not be readily available, which is problematic if a disruption is very sudden. For a lot of materials, there is no suitable substitution candidate that provides the same technical performance at similar costs. Also, the substitute material might have their own supply chain problems as well. Perhaps the material is even more environmentally damaging to extract or produced by even a lower number of suppliers. Investing in new mines, ideally also domestically, can of course help to secure supply also on a national or regional level and allows for stricter control on environmental and safety regulations. The resource base on secondary raw materials can be expanded by closing material loops. And by this, we use a single raw material more efficiently. It can serve more needs in its lifetime. At the company level, trying to use less of a material, for example by internal recycling or of the production waste, could further minimize the potential damage of increased costs. Other strategies for increased resource efficiency include making products smaller or implementing business models that deliver services instead of aiming to maximize the sales of products. For supply risk mitigation to be effective, it is therefore crucial that different mitigation strategies are applied in parallel. A company should combine strategies to be protected against all types of risks. A mitigation should be possible in the short term for sudden disruptions, whereas certain strategies such as exploration and the development of substitutes can provide a more structural solution, but they require a long-term vision and long-term engagement. Not all mitigation measures are suitable for all types of companies. For example, small companies might find it more difficult to make big investments in certification programs or in research and development in the creation of substitutes, increased resource efficiency, or the implementation of recycling activities. So here, collaboration with industry associations and support of policymakers can be very helpful.
Thank you very much, Dorothea, for these interesting insights.